comfy. Hello, I'm Michelle and I run Woolly Wumpkins. If you haven't hit like and subscribe yet, please do so that you don't miss any of our future adventures in wool. Now today we're going to be winding this massive hank of chunky yarn. I bought this from woolyknit. I bought it undyed and I've dyed it, and I'm going to be making a blanket with this, so I am planning on crocheting the blanket. So I really need this to be in a bowl so that I can work from it. Now I've also dyed, in my previous videos, you'll have seen that I divided one of these into three, and I dyed them 3 different colours because I need 1,000 grams of the main colourway, and then these are approximately 340 grams each, and these are of the complementary colourways. So that's what a kilo looks like divided into 3. So you can imagine how big this ball of yarn is going to be. So I thought, let's do a little video of me balling it up, because there will be people buying this who have never worked with a hank or a skein before. Something this big should be called a hank, I think. We'll stick to that. So this hank is 1,000 grams. It's really heavy. It's too heavy for my umbrella swifts or even my sunflower swift, and not for my well, I've got one that my husband's made as well. It's just too heavy for it. So it's a back of the chair job. So I'm guessing that you will have just bought it in an undyed condition, and you're going to be making the cushion pattern that comes with the yarn. But I dyed mine, so it got a little bit scruffy, as you can see, because it's been wet, it's been dipped, it's been dyed and dried and spun and all sorts. And actually, I'm going to comment on that because I've dyed this, I've washed it, I have put it in a spin dryer, and it hasn't felted. I mean, it's not the softest of yarns, but it never was. But it hasn't felted the way that I would have expected a pure wool of this thickness. I would have expected it to felt more, which is a good thing for me. It means hopefully it'll be less bobbly now when it's made into a blanket and it's on my bed. There we go. So I've got to tidy this up a bit. So you'll notice there are ties throughout the hank. So there's one there, there's one there, and then the next one will be the beginning and the end of the hank. There you go. So that's this yarn, the beginning of it and the end of it tied together. So that's going to be the last one that we undo. We're also going to put our arms through and try and get a circle like this, and just check that there are no strands. If I do this to show you, so if this was over there and I pulled, you could see that there, can you? Pull in, that's not going to unwind properly when we put on there. So you would drop it down and you just get it, and then when you're sure that you've got all of the yarn where you want it, you fluff it up. Now this is heavy stuff, too heavy for me to do that again. Whew. But for me that's tidy enough. I can work with that. So I'm going to undo, making sure that I keep the whole thing on my arm. Nothing, we don't want any of these to drop over there, because then we're going to end up with a big ball of something that your cat would love to play with, or your neighbour's cat. So we're going to cut this tie. And just loosely pull it either end and it'll come off nicely. Let's put that there. Going to making sure that we keep our circle there, free of any crossover of the yarns. We're going to look for our other tie. There we go, the other one, which, as you can see, conveniently is of a different yarn, so it's a different thickness. So we're not going to make any mistakes there. Cut that, and again pull this end, pull that end, and then it'll just slip out. And now we get to the beginning and the end of the whole thing. So what we're going to do here, we're going to put it on our chair. Again, making sure none of the strands are crossing over. I'm going to move these little bits out of the way so that they don't get on my nerves. Now, this does have the potential to just fall off and become a big tangled mess. So we have got to just take care with it. So I like to put it on the corner, push it nicely central to the back of the chair so that I can see my big circle with the strands going around in the circle, not crossing over at all there. So I should be able to undo this with my hands. There we are. You can always just snip it with scissors, but I leave the ends on, even though they'll have little parts that are undyed there, because it's easier when it comes to sewing the ends in. If you're ending up needing to use all of the yarn that you've purchased, those little ends can come in handy. So again, now let's just move this so you can see it. We're going to have the loops on either side, so we've got to pull that one out there, pull that one out there, and now I'm just going to pull it, this one, and I can feel that it's pulling from this side. So I'm holding it and I'm bringing it over, and they've actually knotted it again. So we'll undo this knot. I haven't come across this before with them doing the double knot, but there we go. This is what happens if you do come across it. You just undo that knot. There we go. So what I want to find out is which of these ends is closest to the outside of the circle, because I don't want to be winding a ball of yarn from the inside. That's going to be hard. I want to be winding it from the outside. So this feels like it's coming on the outside, and you can see that this is on the inside there. I'm just going to tuck that out of the way over there, and we're going to make our bow. Excuse me. There's a lot of fibres coming off this. So I may change my mind, but I think I'm just going to undo a few. There we go. So we don't take too much off. Usual way of winding a bow for me is to wrap it around my thumb and my little finger and do figure of 8. And I just do it until I feel there's a big lump of it on my hand. That'll do. Then I transfer what's on my thumb over to my finger, like that. And then pinch it together, and I've got the start of my bow. Just wind it around. There's loads of different techniques, but I just end up, because I'm going to use it straight away, excuse me, fibres. If I wasn't going to use it straight away and I wanted it to be on the back shelf up in my workshop for videos, for example, I would wind it so that it looked pretty. But I'm going to be using it straight away, so this is how it's going to end up looking. Only bigger than that. So there we are, we just wrap it around. Now I'm going to film myself winding the whole of this, but because it's going to be pretty boring for you, I'll speed parts up. If I come across any problems like this pulling now, so I just, with my fingers, I just follow the yarn and just free it up from wherever it's pulling. So every now and then I'll be able to wind freely, and then every now and then I'll have to use my hand to actually take it off all the way around. And then we just wind it into the ball. Remembering to keep this, make sure this doesn't fall off like that. So we don't want a tangled mess. We want a tidy tangle, all into the shape of a ball. So it's cut on the back. So I'm just going to follow the yarn, pull it gently loose. There we go. See how sometimes that will it'll look tangled, but it isn't. Just the gentler you are with it when it comes to that stage. Obviously you can be firm when you're wrapping this, but like here now, if I were to yank it, it's going to pull all of this off and we're going to be in trouble. So I'm just going to lift it gently there, and there we are, we're loose. Here again, summer's come up. Maybe just be gentle with it, it'll fall back where it should be. Always remembering to make sure it hasn't fallen off the edge of the chair. So I'm going to get comfy now, get myself some cushions, because I'm going to be here for a while. I might even put my feet up a little bit. There we go. I'm guessing we're about halfway through now, because this ball is looking similar size to this one and this one. So on to the second half. gets a bit fiddly now as it gets bigger, so I'll dig my fingers in to give some stability. Okay, so we have what looks like a tangle knot, but it's not something that's overly worrying. What you have to do is look for the easiest loop to undo first. So it's going to be this one. I'm going to put it through there, and then we're undoing. We're not making sure we're not making things worse. So if I pulled that, that's going to make things worse. But if I just slowly unravel this one, looks like it's spun around the others. There we go. Ta-da! The key is not to pull things tight. That's the only way. Then once that, if I'd have pulled that tight, the only real way to get it undone then would be to snip it with the scissors. Especially with pure wool, because it tends to felt, the knot gets felted. The more you pull, the more it felts. So be gentle. As you can see, we're nearly at the end now. My back's killing me. My legs are killing me for some reason. Probably the gentle rocking back and forth. This ball is getting big. It's probably the biggest ball of yarn I've ever worn. My hands feel like they're claw. Got fibres up my nose, in my ears, in my eyes, in my mouth, stuck to my lipstick. On my tongue. Yickety. Although you're going to get, can you see the fibres up in the air there? See one? Don't know if you can see that. Although I'm getting that now, it's because I'm dragging my hand along as I wind. I won't get that as much when it's made into a blanket. And over time, all those loose ends will have either felted into the blanket or come away. So it'll get less and less. So, doesn't look like much left, but watch this now become the most troublesome part. Well, happens quite a lot. Right at the end you get the giant knot. Either from getting complacent and then unwinding too quickly. Sometimes it's just from the fact it's all light now and it just jumps out. Getting too heavy, this is now to hold. See that? That is a knot waiting to happen. But we caught you in time, so we'll just unloop you. Ooh, I nearly pulled it off then. Did you see that? So I don't want to be overly eager and wind it all, because it'd be a bit too much right at the end, and then I'll end up with a knot. So let's wind this carefully. As it gets bigger, it becomes harder to keep the strands wrapped around the ball. So let's get this back to our circle. And there we have it. Hey, we're finished. So I'm just going to secure that by tucking it through. When I come to knit it or crochet it, I'm just going to pull that and it'll be ready to use. So there it is, my big ball of wool. So let's just gather my balls together of wool. There we go. I'm ready to get my project up underway. I can't wait. This is going to be great. So let's get on with it, shall we? Follow me, subscribe, like, whatever you need to do so that you can see what I turn these into. See you there. Bye bye.